You think you're building trust. That's why you said it. The debt, the divorce, the job offer you're just exploring. You said it because somewhere along the way, someone told you that openness is what good workplaces are built on. Here's the contradiction. The more human you become to your manager, the less promotable you become. Not because they're cruel, because of how the human brain files information about risk. By the end of this, you'll know exactly which 7 things to keep behind the door and why your manager was never the right audience for them in the first place. That you're job hunting. You mention it casually, just keeping my options open. You think it signals ambition. Managers don't hear ambition. They hear a withdrawal date with no number attached. This is loss aversion recoding. The brain weighs potential loss roughly twice as heavily as equivalent gain. The moment your manager hears, "I might leave," you stop being evaluated as an asset and start being evaluated as a liability to be contained, quietly removed from the next big project, the next stretch assignment, the next room where long-term bets get made. Information that signals instability gets used to protect the system, not the person who gave it. If you're exploring, explore silently. If you need flexibility, ask for it by name. Can I shift my hours this month? Without the backstory. Need-based reasoning is always weaker than value-based reasoning in a room that runs on performance metrics. Replace "I need this because of my situation" with "I've earned this based on this outcome." Let the work carry the request, not the circumstance. 2. The details of your financial stress. You bring it up to explain why you need the extra shift or why you're asking about the bonus timeline. Your manager doesn't file this as context. They file it as predictability data. This is the liability lens. Once a manager knows about real financial pressure, every future request you make for a raise, promotion, more responsibility gets quietly reread through a single question. Is this person asking out of strength or out of desperation? Desperation reduces negotiating leverage, even when no one says it out loud. Need-based reasoning is always weaker than value-based reasoning in a room that runs on performance metrics. Replace "I need this because of my situation" with "I've earned this based on this outcome." Let the work carry the request, not the circumstance. The real story behind your relationship problems. You're distracted. You explain why, the separation, the custody fight, the fallout. This is the moment your manager stops evaluating your output and starts evaluating your capacity. This is the halo horn effect in reverse. One vivid piece of personal turmoil recolors how every subsequent piece of your work gets interpreted. A missed deadline that would normally be a scheduling issue becomes understandable given everything she's going through, which sounds kind, but it quietly reclassifies you as someone being managed around, not someone being developed. Sympathy and advancement rarely travel together. One protects you, the other promotes you. They are not the same currency. If you need accommodation, name the logistic. "I need flexibility this week," and stop there. The reason is yours to keep. Your honest opinion of leadership or coworkers. It feels like venting. It feels safe because your manager seemed to agree. Nothing said about a third person in a workplace is ever fully private. It's data your manager now holds about your judgment, not just your opinion. This is trust misattribution. You read their nodding as alliance. They read your candor as a preview of how you'll talk about them in a room they're not in. Information cannot be unshared, and a manager's memory of who criticizes whom outlasts the conversation by years. A manager forms a permanent model of your discretion from a temporary moment of your honesty. Critique systems and processes by name. Leave people out of the sentence entirely. Number 5, that you're burned out and can't handle it. You say it hoping for relief, less on your plate, more understanding. What you intend as a request for support, your manager often hears as a capacity ceiling, a permanent data point, not a temporary state. This is recency-weighted judgment. Performance memory isn't a fair average of your whole year. It's disproportionately shaped by the most recent, most emotional data point. "I can't handle this," said once in March, can quietly outweigh 11 months of strong delivery when the promotion list gets built in December. Stated limits get remembered longer than demonstrated strengths. Frame it as a resourcing problem, not a personal one. This workload needs to be rescoped, not "I can't handle this." Same need, completely different file it gets stored in. 6. What you know about other people's salaries. You found out what a peer makes. You bring it up to make your case. You think you're building a fairness argument. Your manager hears a trust breach they now have to investigate. This is threat to system reasoning. Pay information moving sideways between employees isn't read as transparency. It's read as a structural leak that could trigger comparisons across the entire team. The conversation about your raise gets quietly replaced by a conversation about who shared what with whom. Fairness arguments win on merit. They lose the instant they're built on information that wasn't yours to have. Make your case on your contribution and market data you can cite openly, never on a colleague's number. 7. Your political or religious convictions. It comes up naturally. The news, a holiday, a passing comment. A manager who learns your convictions doesn't just learn a fact about you. They inherit a filter they didn't ask for, applied to every future decision they make about you. This is unconscious in-group calibration. Once a manager can place you on the side of anything divisive, every ambiguous decision, who gets the visible project, whose joke lands as fine versus a problem, who gets defended in a hard meeting, gets run through that lens, usually without the manager even noticing it happening. Visibility into your convictions creates risk you cannot retract once it's given. Keep the workplace conversation on shared, neutral ground. Save the rest for people who aren't deciding your next role. None of this means going cold or treating your manager as an adversary. It means understanding what the relationship actually is. Not a friendship with a reporting line attached, but a professional evaluation that runs continuously, whether you're aware of it or not. Every disclosure becomes data. Every piece of data becomes part of the model they're quietly building of who you are and what you're capable of. The people who advance fastest aren't the ones who hide the most. They're the ones who understand exactly which room a piece of information belongs in, and who keep their personal life in the room it was always meant for.